Hi, everybody. This is Seth Marlatt, and we're starting a new thing here at Altir where we're going to engage a whole variety of thought leaders in business, technology, culture, and just a whole bunch of interesting people to get their perspective on topics that are top of mind in the news, as well as how they've kind of evolved their own businesses and careers. And today we're thrilled to have Diaa, who is the co-founder and CEO of Soundful. And Soundful is a generative AI music platform organization, and they deliver studio quality music at the push of a button. So welcome, Diaa.
Thank you, Seth, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This should be fun. You are on the inaugural voyage here, so bear with us. So really, Diaa, what I wanted to do is just kind of chat back and forth, maybe throw a couple questions out there and, get your thoughts, perspectives on a couple things. Sound good?
Happy to.
Cool. So just to kind of start off, can you give everybody a little bit of background and on kind of what Soundful is, what brought you to this moment and creating such a cool company?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Soundful is, we're one of the leading platforms for AI music generation. And the one thing to note here, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing to note, is that we're an ethically trained AI music creation platform. What that means is that we've taken the right approach and the ethical approach to make sure that when we're developing a technology that will empower the creator economy and specifically empower the music industry, we wanted to make sure that we're respecting the artist's rights and the IP holders' rights. And by doing so, that really opened up the doors for us to work with the music industry and to be backed by the music industry as well. Who we serve today is we serve two sides of the industry. We serve the creator, which is music producers, artists, singer-songwriters, content creators in certain cases as well, when they're looking forward to create music behind their videos or their vlogs. And the other side is our enterprise offering, which we serve companies that they leverage our API, that we can help them create content and music for their advertisements. And how I came about it, I am a musician by trade. I studied classical piano. I have a degree in sound engineering and music production. And I always wanted to do something to power the up-and-comers and to open up the doors for people that don't have access to studios or have access to music to be creative. And that was really the goal for starting Soundful.
Yeah, I think you're one of the coolest people I know in terms of your background and just kind of your journey to take what you did day in and day out and really kind of package that into a passion using technology and a lot of vision, I think, to get to what is probably the hottest topic in the last more than a decade, right? Which is artificial intelligence. So, one of the things that I think intrigues me is this whole idea of the pushback that we're seeing in the industry. And this goes for music as well as other business segments around piracy, infringement, IP, copyrights. And I think Soundful and the music space that you play in is like right at the heart of a lot of this, right? You have the labels and so forth, but you've taken this approach around, being fairly trained, right? Both literally and figuratively. And I'd love for you to tell us why you took that stance, the things that kind of went into that calculus.
I mean, I think a big part of it is that I come from the music industry. So IP and protecting the rights and the integrity as an artist and as a producer, that surpasses everything else, in my opinion. We are a technology company, but music is in our DNA. We need to protect, if we're empowering the next generation of artists, we need to protect the previous generations as well and not stumble on their rights. There is the easy way of just there are certain companies that went and used the internet as a whole under the Fair Use Act and just saying, oh, it's because it's out there, it's fair use. It's not really. And that's across the board, not just in the music space, but also in the art world, in the photography world, and every single industry, any creative industry is being disrupted right now and battling about how do we protect our IP and make sure that it's not used to create derivatives, etc. Now, there is the argument where musicians or artists get inspired by other music, right? There's absolutely that argument, but that doesn't really apply here. because you're taking, when I listen to a song and it inspires me, I write something new rather than understanding, rather than the machine reading it exactly how it was done and creating derivatives of it. We took a little bit of a complete different approach where we trained our models on the way to play a chord on a piano versus a way to play a chord, strum a chord on a guitar. What are the music theory rules behind it? How you can teach our models to produce the same way a producers or a musician learns how to play that specific instrument. That's the approach that we've taken. So I look at us as that we're an additive. We're creating, being an additive to the workflow and as a tool, rather than creating derivatives of certain work that already has been done and out there, and just we're trying to just like create duplicates of it.
It's a really interesting approach, right? And arguably like the harder road. We're seeing so many companies that, now are they're starting to look like party tricks, right? Because they're just taking an LLM and they're wrapping it in some way, shape, or form, or they're using Reddit data or something like that, right? Where there's not a lot of authenticity in the way that the intelligence is actually being brought about. And so it's an interesting stance to take and a lot of forethought, I think, to navigate some of these legal issues. I have to ask, with what I'm seeing in the news today, UMG, Sony, others are taking a whole variety of legal actions, right? To, we'll just say some folks who are kind of in the space, similar to Soundful. Have you had any legal action taken against you, or like where do you sit, like in relation to the labels and some of these guys who are starting to pop their head up and take some action?
It's a great question. From day one, we actually went to the labels and we showed them what we were building, and we told them we were very clear that we're not training on any of their content. That's one. But yes, we've actually received some of the letters from the majors as well, just to put you on notice. Hey, we know that you're not training on our data, but just to make sure, if you're training on our data and we find out, we're going to take, legal actions against you. And it's, it's expected, and they're going to fight very hard for it, as they should, to protect. Of course, they're going to protect their interests, but most importantly, to protect the interests and the integrity for all of the artists previously and moving forward as well, and making sure that we're developing the technology in a thoughtful and an ethical manner, and to help power the next generations of artists and producers, not to make sure that we're setting them up also for success. Because it's one thing that it's been trained on creating derivatives on actual IP that is out there, but also there is the different position where if I am, Diaa, that is living somewhere, and I'm an up-and-coming artist, and I use a certain technology that I don't know the training data sets or the source materials for it, and it happens to infringe on something, right? Well, some of these companies, they actually tell you, you're using the technology, and if something happens, it's on you, and you're liable for it. That's really wrong. You're taking struggling or an up-and-coming artist, we're setting them up for failure.
Yeah. Well, making music is hard, right? And I think that you have to, honor the process. And it sounds like that's what you guys are doing. And certainly, I think this is not the first or the last lawsuit that we're going to see in the space. It's going to be an interesting couple of years here, I think. But we'll have to see what the legal system does in this space, right? Because you can't create a precedent and allow folks to behave badly, whatever that means. But it'll be, I think that there's actually probably an opportunity for a lot of companies that take content and can manage the lineage of that content through the AI process, right? So that people get, they get the credit, they get the monetization that their original content contributed. It's a tough problem to solve, though. Interesting. So what's next on the horizon for Soundful, for generative AI? Are there any things that you see that are top of mind, or, any questions that you're getting, day in and day out from your customers?
Yeah, one of the biggest things definitely more on the consumer side for us is how do we bring in the connection between the fans or the super fans and the artist and the producer community together. We've launched our first Human Plus Machine contest, and that's in collaboration with SoundCloud. And our first artist was Cascade, so that was the Cascade edition. Cool. And honestly, it's been breathtaking to see like everything that is happening and the incredible submissions that we've made. To give you an idea of what it was, we built a model for Cascade that replicates the way that he produces, the way he arranged songs. It has his sounds, and it's the first of its kind songwriting contest. He said, go use my model on Soundful, download it, make it your own, sing on it, or you just like as a producer, change it and make it your own, submit it through SoundCloud. And the winner will be able to get a co-release with Cascade. They will perform with him live. And it's a great opportunity for finding new talent, or even like existing producers that are really good, or existing songwriters that are really good, but they just can't get from point A to point B. Now we're a tool for them to that, and we're bringing different opportunities with major artists and producers. And next, we're in talks with some of the labels and brands, etc., to replicate that that campaign in a new and a different way, different genres. Maybe we do it for a specific brand, we do it for a festival. The sky's the limit here, and it's really about how do we bridge the gap between both sides, the newcomers and also the very well established, with a clear and ethical way for monetization and artist discovery as well.
Yeah, it's the Cascade contest that you're running is, I don't know, I think it's really cool. I think I mentioned this to you, but I had a friend reach out, right, because his kid was like super interested in figuring out how to create his submission and so forth. And I think that's cool, right, because you're giving this power to people who know exactly how to make music and the people who don't know how to make music, right? And you're really kind of providing capabilities for both, that obviously one is probably more well suited to taking that and running with it. I mean, these are how like Juice WRLD and other kind of artists kind of came about. And I think it's an American Idol moment, which is a pretty cool thing. And I haven't seen anybody else doing this, right? You know, to embrace AI in a way that really kind of supports this creativity. So it's a pretty cool first of its kind.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, like I guess the only other thing that I'd be curious about is, you mentioned brands a little bit. Like, what are some of the cool things that you see brands looking to do, right? Because that seems to be this space where there's a whole bunch of agencies playing in the creative world and trying to engage all of us as consumers to be better brand loyalists. Anything that's, you know, that's interesting, top of mind, any cool brands that you're working with?
Absolutely. There's so many different ideas and different experiences that we're very focused on building very unique experiences for different brands. You know, sometimes they reach out to Soundful to build a specific experience that I was like, I never thought that this would actually exist, but everybody's trying to be creative around how they can use the tech and again, like give accessibility to their fans, or not just fans, to their consumers, to just engage with something and make them feel that they created something and they own it. And it brings more loyalty to that brand because they brought it to that. We were doing a lot of very interesting experiences with a lot of the, like some credit card company, one of the biggest credit card companies. We're working with a social media platform as well on a different experience. Yeah, there's just a lot of different things that I would love to share, but they're in the works that will be announced towards end of September, early October, a lot of them. That I'm extremely excited and proud of. And it's much more than just making music. It's really giving something unique and a different experience because the technologies allowed us to do so.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's this moment where every single large global 2000 company has some AI agenda someplace, right? Because I think every
Absolutely.
CEO wants to stand up, right, at their investor meetings and be able to say, this is what we're doing in the space, this is how we're doing it. But most are not, you know, fully equipped to be able to do that. Granted, they have teams and so forth. So it's a pretty cool way to help those organizations get further faster in the space as well. Maybe my
Absolutely.
last question is like, those are the big guys, right? How about the little guys? Like going back to your roots, like you were a producer, you were a touring DJ, like how is Soundful meeting the needs of that community? Like, do you have any ways that you kind of handshake with those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things that we offer that no other platform offers is that our STEM exports, or even like DAW, the digital audio workstation exports that we have, where traditionally most of the other AI music platforms out there today, they just like create the full song, or they can send you out like maybe two or three stems, like here's drums, here's like bass, or whatever it may be.
Got it.
We took a little bit of different approach. We looked at what is the workflow of a producer, what is a workflow of an engineer, and by doing that, we're able to actually build the technology to be able to export full stem files, and that's weighed for every single instrument, every single effect that is on there, as well as the MIDI. The MIDI is where the notes are played and recorded, and so anybody can just drag and drop the stems into their Pro Tools or Logic, their Ableton, and you have a project in seconds. And that just speeds up the creativity, gets them to go into different genres that they play in, but also like do things at scale. Like we have a lot of producers that work into the wellness and the fitness, and they work with hotel chains, they work with spas, and they're able to build catalogs at a very fast pace because they're able to leverage our technology. And they just, let's say we get them 90% there, now they spend 10%, so now they're able to do 10x the output in the time that they were able to do just one track complete.
Got it. That's cool. That's kind of bringing it back to the human and machine, right? Like making it more expeditious to create and putting money in people's pockets. And I assume that you have plans that are kind of aligned to this community. Call it the
Absolutely.
community. Awesome. Well, very cool.
Yes.
Diaa, this has been tremendous, man. I appreciate you taking a few minutes. I look forward to reconnecting and hearing more about some of these things that are coming up here in the fall.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, bud. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.